Hello, we're writing 122 students. This is your instructor, Emil Nicolescu, and I'm going to show you how to start writing this essay number 2. So let's get to it. I'm going to share my Word document here. And so I wrote here, what is the central task of essay 2? It is, does the film make a good argument to support the homeless? How? And why not? And so basically, then after you get the question, you watch the movie and you have two options. You can give two answers. You can give answer 1, yes, the film does make a compelling argument. With a visually and narratively effective story. That could be one answer, or another answer could be no, because whatever, and you give your reasons. So that's basically what you have to do. So now if you answered yes, you say, well, support. Your whole paper is going to be about the support. How does the film make a compelling argument? What are the effective bits? How is the story effective? How are the visual components effective? And so we're going to focus on why the story is effective. Why is the story effective? And a story has a plot, which is a sequence of events. All right, this happened. There is usually a conflict, a climax, and there's a resolution. And the story has characters, and they act out the story. All right. And when we talk about characters, we always talk about characterization. How they are portrayed by the director. Because the director makes various decisions to show this character or that. So after you have those central questions, then it's time to take notes. And let me see if I can go down. Give me only a page here. And so now you take notes for supporting an effective story argument in the film. And then you just start watching the movie. And so here we go. Let's watch the movie together and take notes on it.
She was an alcoholic. She was legally blind. She was a schizophrenic. But I never forgot that she loved me, even if she did. All the time. All the time. All the time.
And so I think here, right here, the director makes in the very beginning, the character of Liz makes the statement that she always loved her mother and remember that love. To make her strong. Even though her own mother abandoned her. She says, I never forgot her love, even though she forgot all the time. And you'll see that argument repeat itself at the end. And so the story starts out with sort of a thesis, really, a central idea. The movie effectively gives the reader the main point of the movie, of the film, right away, and then it will loop back to this thesis spoken by Liz, the protagonist, the main hero or heroine, protagonist. With this effect, it reminds the viewer what the message here, the central message, is here, that humans can overcome adversity, despite tremendous family issues, but not without the help of teachers and social programs. Because if Liz had lived in a different country, for example, and if she had lived in Afghanistan or Iran, or I don't know, countries that don't recognize, they don't encourage the power of women and don't look after the kids, and don't have generous scholarships, like the New York Times scholarship. No matter how smart they are, they will fall by the wayside. So it's important that the U.S. keeps those programs for the homeless, and you can build your argument from there. So anyway, but going back to the narrative argument, the movie right away it's effective because it builds a powerful argument, because it tells you right away. It doesn't hide what this is about. It just kind of puts it in your face, and the character looks right at you in the camera, sort of asking you to be compassionate, asking you to listen if you choose to listen, of course. So let's go back to the movie. You need to. And here we see.
If there were no television, it's mine. We would go door to door. God, it's mine.
Here we're gonna see starts the sequence. So now the movie is gonna start with the conflict, the family background. It's gonna show how the parents. I mean, obviously I've seen the movie before, and that's why I can talk about it. And that's why I really recommend you to watch the movie more than once, twice, really. You have to watch it twice, because first time you just understand what's happening, but the second time it's gonna reinforce the initial ideas that you have about it, or the feeling that you have about it. And so so in this sequence you're gonna see how the father is very intelligent. He gets all the right answers at Jeopardy, and the mother is stealing the family's food money. And it's going to turn out that the girl, Liz, is actually working at 8 years old to put food on the table for the family, while the mother is just using drugs and to put it mildly, not having a positive contribution to the family. So.
We're Sam Donaldson. Sam Donaldson. This one cell protozoa gets its name from a Greek word meaning change. Well, what is amoeba? What is the amoeba? Right.
Here you see, painful scenes of family fights. The camera is moving. You have like close-ups. It gives you an intimate view, painful and very intimate. So the director wants you to draw you in to see the terrible circumstances that this kid grew up in. Kind of set up the painful reality. Set it up in order to make you feel so bad for her, in the beginning, and to realize what the kind of hole that she pulled herself out of, and not just herself, right? And then people are gonna come later in the story. You're gonna see people who help her out, right? So let's keep that in mind. But right now, you're just gonna see the camera work, moving, give you very realistic. Remember where other movies that use the kind of moving camera, not stable. And I'm sorry, I don't have the exact terminology. I usually wrote about literature, not movies. But you will want to make sure I'm recording this.
You're in the lead all by yourself.
Please give it to me.
400. Because there are no blood vessels in this layer of skin, nutrition is supplied by a tissue fluid.
What is epidermis?
What is the epidermis? Correct. If you need 6,000.
Let's go, Mom. I get 100 too.
This term.
Anyway, the mother fights.
To one of you. Let's go home. One of you. Oh, cross the live on.
The mother fights and gets the money.
It's the same damn thing.
The father is very smart but does nothing. He's addicted to drugs as well.
I didn't take it. Give it to me. You could sit down on a couch and talk to my father. You just couldn't talk to him for long.
Now you hear the narrator's voice, which is the girl that has grown, is looking back at her earlier years, and in this scene you're going to see the parents abandoning her briefly.
Hey!
The mother went to buy drugs.
He knew so much. He got all the answers right on Jeopardy. He was the genius of the answer every time. That's the thing. Your parents are your gods. I looked at them as an example of what I should find everywhere in the world. They paid so little attention to my needs. But then it felt like their need was so powerful that it didn't make me feel hurt or angry. They didn't look into me.
So now at this point in the story, you have the narrator speaking about the psychology of the child who looks up to the parents, and so she didn't really think it was something wrong. She just kind of accepted the kind of world that she grew up in, and this is the stage before she became aware. So this is the child stage. When the child just kind of survives and accepts things, but she's also afraid of the world outside. There's going to come a point in the movie, in the narrative, where the narrator will say, and then the world came in. So first, what we're going to see for the first half of the movie, we're going to see the just basically Liz not having control of her life because she's a child and she doesn't understand. She just accepts. And then halfway through the movie, there's going to come up the threshold point, the turnaround point in the narrative, leading up to the climax, where Liz grows, and how she grows through her realization that she needs to do something about herself, because the world does not wait for her, but we'll see that later. And I'm just going to skip forward
This just must be the human
through
condition.
the background to Liz as the accepting child and sort of like the victim of her circumstances.
That girl's in there, they'll beat you down. Take everything you got. You can't.
Here, there's social worker. This is the negative portrayal of the social worker. This social worker is characterized as yelling at her, not being helpful, just calling the cops, not offering, just not helping her.
Can't have anything. You have to clean bathrooms. You'll work there. If you don't work here.
The mother is carried away to the hospital because she's just her drug use is out of control. Here you see the girl. She loves her mom so much. She does not accuse her mom of anything.
Couldn't they see? Anyone could see. She was in so much pain. And her struggle was so much on the surface, so there if anyone cared to look. It wasn't like she was running off and being a good mother to somebody else. She just didn't have any more to give.
She just this is important. How the mother is characterized. The mothers cannot characterize as someone who is cruel. She just has no control over herself, but she still loves the daughter, and I think that's really important, because some parents they are both out of control emotionally, with themselves and others, and they shut off themselves from their children. And I think Liz was lucky in that respect, that she did receive love, some kind of love from her parents, which unfortunately was her life was derailed by the parents' drug abuse. But I think that love is important to have. And I think that saved Liz. And so that could be something that you could think about in your argument. You know, could a social welfare system replace that love that the parents give, or not? You know, and so if the children don't have that love, it must be replaced by some kind of qualified counselor or social worker that can replace the parent, the bad parent. So you can step in with research and build that argument. Anyway, so going back to the movie now, we're going to skip through this narrative that shows the first part of the movie that shows Liz sort of victim of her circumstances. Here we see Liz at school. She doesn't fit in.
Oh, Liz, stay here.
But she's an excellent student.
You do smell, you know? Doesn't your mother tell you? No, it's my fault.
And here you see the positive character of the teacher. This is the first positive teacher character who encourages her, who shows her proves to her that she has an amazing mind, and encourages her to go to school. But Liz, unfortunately, does not listen.
Oh, when you're having a shower tonight, you wanna wash back here? I've been saving some things for you.
She gives her clothes.
Here. And here. How did you do that?
And it shows her amazing grade.
I read a lot. What do you read?
The encyclopedia. The lady upstairs, Eva, she found one in the dumpster. The whole set. Well, except for Art S. If you had asked me about Art S, I would have gotten it wrong. I was just lucky.
Oh, Liz, you have to come to school.
Okay.
No, I mean it. Look, it's ridiculous. You're way too smart not to be here. I don't understand why you don't come.
I will.
So this scene builds up the argument, gives support to the argument that Liz is very smart. She's very intelligent, and she uses whatever resources. She's very resourceful because she found an encyclopedia in the dumpster, and she just used it to educate herself better than the teacher could. Again, this is part of the background. The director gives you builds the background for the later developments when Liz gets into Harvard, because Liz would not have been able to do that if she had not had this resource. Again, but she found this resource, and probably thanks to her parents, she probably inherited great genes, ironically, because her parents then became drug addicts. But she was born with amazing genes. Obviously, both her parents are intelligent people, especially her father. So anyway, so the movie effectively builds up, Liz's character. We see the child who is struggling with her family. She lacks care and supervision, but she has this internal resource, her curiosity, her intellectual curiosity that will save her later.
How could I tell her that school made me sad? I didn't know how to talk to her. I didn't know how to talk to anyone. My house wasn't a place you could come out of and be normal. You have to come
Okay,
every day.
skipping.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. Okay. Look real good.
Here you see her mother's love. Again, going back to
Auntie, glad you're home?
Liz having some kind of emotional support
Wasn't too bad.
and not having abusive
It's too
parents.
green. To walks and
Teddy,
help you along.
The mother is going back to her own father, Liz's grandfather,
Let's go.
who is a rapist.
Because he said
And
Pop beat you. He said he raped your sister.
Pop raped your sister.
No, stay here.
And Liz has enough intelligence to realize that she does not want to be part of her grandfather's
I thought
world.
if I stayed, I could stop it. I thought if I stayed,
Don't make a fuss.
Now the social workers
I'll talk to him. And if he'll take you,
takes her to a group home
And if he won't,
where she's going to experience
you'll have time to figure out how you want to live your life.
extreme cruelty. By the way, that's I believe that's the actual Liz. This is the actual
You're still not going to school. You're never in school. We got to do something about this. Miss Wanda warned you. I warned you. Every one of your caseworkers.
this person right here is actually the actual Liz Murray, grown up, acting the role of the cruel, sort of like distant, not cruel, but sort of very stern social worker. So she's playing herself. Not playing herself, playing in the movie. Not as herself, but somebody else. But she's present. She makes what's called a cameo appearance.
Just warned you. This has been going on for years. We all said clean up this place and go to school. Clean up and go to school.
So now we see the cruelty that is taking place of this, where they put children that don't have parents. The fights,
24 hours.
and I think builds up the case. Builds the pathos argument. In the beginning of the course, we talk about pathos, which is appeal to audiences' feelings. And that's what the director is doing here. He is showing Liz in very trying circumstances. So then when you see her succeed, you experience this catharsis, or this great feeling of relief, that Liz escaped a very bad place. So in your narrative analysis, you can build an argument that about catharsis. That the first part of the movie shows Liz as a victim, and then the next part will show Liz as overcoming her circumstances, and this creates catharsis in the viewer, because he sees that it's like all the movies have this, right? The underdog, the underdog narrative. The underdog struggles, but then overcomes, and you have this emotional. There's this emotional release, and both the character who comes out in the light, but also the viewer, right? The person the audience who is experiencing the narrative, who is taking on this emotional journey of terrible struggle and victimization, right? But then success, then Harvard, right? First the projects, dirt, drug abuse, fights, alienation, and then belonging to the highest ranks of society. New York Times. And so, for example, this is the buildup, right?
I didn't get out in 24
The
days.
fights,
No one
terrible
wanted me.
circumstances.
They just left me there.
And now you have Liz is grown up as a teenager. This is her grandfather, the rapist.
Here's your mother. Jeannie, come out here. She's here.
Yeah. Looks fine. Yeah.
The mother tells her that she has HIV.
You and me. What if Dad went off drugs too? Wouldn't that be great? Maybe.
There's a false moment of hope.
You know, your dad, he's in a shelter right now. I'm afraid he lost his apartment. He kind of ignored the rent, so.
Your parents lost their home.
What about my stuff?
Bad news. She lost her beloved
my
encyclopedia. Obviously, irresponsible
I'm
parents.
real sorry. You know, they boarded up the whole place. There was nothing.
Again, making the point of hard circumstances, of building the pathos, feeling pity.
I gotta go around the corner and see a few friends, just for a minute, okay? You finish your burger, and I'll be.
Her mom is not only, her mom goes to the bar. Again, she abandons the kid. She's not only a drug user, but she also uses alcohol. And Liz finds her in the bar.
Fine, I'll help her. Are you gonna get home with me?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go down and see my buddies. You know, take care of me.
Maybe I should just come with you. You gotta
Her
see
drinking buddies. Liz in school. There's a bright moment that Liz is beginning to turn her life around, and she is attending school.
So we have now birds, silver.
But she doesn't fit in. She does find a friend, though. This is her friend. This kid
I'm gonna wear my dad's trench coat.
is being raped by her parent.
A trench coat and a pair of boots. To flash all the teachers. Happy birthday.
Liz accepts her. She has a good heart. She doesn't care that this kid
Yeah, I do.
has some issues. And the scene provides some comic relief. So there's just like they fling mud at each other. The music kind of matches. It's kind of like hip hop. Matches the play and the urban setting. I think it's important the movie has this, so it doesn't load up the viewer with a lot of psychologically negative thoughts and moments. It kind of lightens up. It gives you a little bit of a break psychologically out of the terrible, message that is being delivered here. Going past that, here the mother comes to a party, or to a party that Liz was part of it, and she takes care of her mother. Again, very sad.
Well, what will your grandfather say? He won't know. We'll work it out.
This is
so I'll
Liz's
never see
friend.
He won't get up until after he leaves for work. He's like a robot anyway, out by 8.
Back at 6.
Pops, she has no place to stay.
That's not my problem.
Liz is going to end up in the streets because she doesn't want to live with her grandfather. She doesn't want to abandon her friend, and so they're going to become homeless.
Your mother's stuff.
What's a home anyway?
There you go. What's a home anyway? There is a powerful sequence here.
A place where when you go there, they have to take.
Kind of
If so,
makes you realize why some many individuals choose to be homeless, because they don't have an option. Either they have to live with an abusive guardian or partner, or it's the streets. And the streets, at least, they're free from abuse. And so makes you realize why some become homeless.
and I was 15 when I became homeless. Person change?
Get a job.
How you doing tonight?
God bless you, kid.
See the kindness of strangers, of some strangers. So not everybody is, it doesn't portray everyone as callous. In this scene, you see the kid dreaming of belonging to a normal world.
I'd never had a home in my life.
You see the kids just kind of surviving, accepting their circumstances. Again, it's part of the first part of the movie where Liz is, just not really improving her lot, just basically accepting the way things are. But there's going to be a turnaround, right? They're stealing, she's doing petty theft, although she's more of an accomplice than the actual, but she's still part of this.
And then other times I knew wherever my mother was, that's where my home was. Oh.
Friendship.
Us who were born under it.
And then her mother dies.
We see through it. We just can't get through it. My mother was being buried in section 51, the charity plot. My mother was in there. Strangers had put her in there.
And this is a key moment in the movie.
Was she frightened? No. She was gone.
Where
No.
where she starts realizing that
There should be a service.
she needs to turn her life
What's
around.
supposed to happen?
When you go, we're gonna bury him. That's all.
It's a she. It's my mother.
There's no priest on these cases. You didn't know that? She's dead. Put her in the ground.
See the callous parent, the callous grandfather.
Priest or no priest. What did it matter? She was gone. She was already rotting. Was I supposed to believe she'd found eternal peace?
See Economist?
Yeah, just go. Hey, wait. No, Liz, it's this. The matter. This wasn't the real world. We only really live in each other's hearts. She lived in my heart, but I lived nowhere. I was all alone in the world. You're 16 years old with an 8th grade education, and you're on a downward spiral that will end in a worse place than you ever dreamed. You've burned every bridge, you've worn out every welcome, and everyone who's ever believed in you, you've let down. Eva? I want to be an idiot.
So this is the turnaround. This is a turnaround in the movie where she says, I don't want to be an idiot anymore. Basically, this is the point where she gives up her, she grows up. She has the realization that if she keeps fighting the system and not going to school and not working with the social workers and the teachers, that she will lose, she'll throw away her only asset, which is intelligence and the academic ability, which she has proven so easily, even by not going to school. But she has that realization, and so this is a turning point in the movie. Here you see in a world of strangers, I think that scene expressed fear or alienation still. She doesn't know anybody, she's awkward. She still makes mistakes, she's late for her appointment.
I'm Liz Murray, I have an appointment at 9:30. It's 10:30. I'm sorry, the subway got stuck. I'm sorry too, but it's really too late.
She almost misses her
3 weeks ago.
the opportunity of her life.
With kids who get here on time, honey.
This guy that she's gonna
Read
meet.
the brochure.
She's the head teacher. She's a teacher in this program for struggling kids, who is going to give her the opportunity to write to get a scholarship from the New York Times newspaper. And this guy is a positive character, which you can discuss
The development
as part of the plot, the second part of the narrative.
I just need one chance.
I need one chance.
You can wait and talk to David.
David
He's
is
got this meeting right after.
the teacher who's going to encourage her, who's effective in enabling her to blossom and to encourage her. And so you have to realize that without such social programs that are in place, if we lose funding for those kind of programs, kids like Liz, despite her amazing natural abilities, would go into drugs and add to the number of the homeless, and add to the number of the terrible world. So anyway, so the rest of the movie, basically from this point on, Liz scores success after success.
Why now?
There's still some hard moments.
You take my daughter.
The father is almost not willing to let the. Here she's trying to convince her father to give her phone number so she can be accepted in the school. The father is ashamed of himself. He almost doesn't go in, and basically almost boycotts her daughter's progress. So you have these important psychological moments where the director is creating anxiety in you, like oh my God, is she gonna make it? Is she gonna make it? You know, but of course she does.
But he was old enough to be my mother.
Dad, I just...
Yeah, I remember when you were a kid, you used to bag groceries down.
Golf Tonkin.
Remember the name?
Here you see Liz succeeding in school.
Yo, did you get Bismarck? You didn't. Well, in March. This is your first school work in what? Forever?
More praise.
If my words count, the B train took 70 minutes to do its entire run.
She's studying. She becomes studious.
I went back 4 times.
This is her upward rise. We're working towards the climax of the movie.
For the first time in my life. No way am I one of the top 10.
This is where the teacher tells her that she's the top student.
You get the best grades in this whole place.
She has the best grades.
So what? Going to Boston.
All expenses paid.
She gets to visit Harvard for the first time, where she realizes that it's possible. This is Harvard University, the campus. The dream is getting closer to become reality.
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. Now Liz is asking her sister for a decent coat, for decent clothes to wear for a New York Times interview, to get the scholarship that will allow her to study and to live as a student.
Can go to school.
And this is the New York. And then she gets into New York Times offices.
Because I was turned so inward by my mom.
And this is her interview.
See how all the little tiny things.
And this is her acceptance speech, where New York Times, they have a special,
Everything's changed. My life will never be the same.
This is the climax.
I don't know what else to say except for thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. How'd you do this?
How did you do
How
this?
could I not do it? My parents showed me what the alternative was.
Didn't you ever feel sorry for yourself?
Sorry?
Sleeping in subways, eating out of dumpsters?
That had always been my life. And I feel that I got lucky because any sense of security was pulled out from under me, so I was forced to look forward. I had to. There was no going back. And I reached a point where I just thought, all right, I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can and see what happens. And now I'm going to college. And the New York Times is going to pay.
So you were lucky. But is there anything you'd change if you were able?
Yeah. I'd give back. All of it. If I could have my family back. I got into Harvard. I got a job at the New York Times. I got an apartment. I don't have to carry my whole life with me anymore. I don't have to carry my whole life with me. But I do. Everyone I've known, everything I've done. Pieces chip off. I forget the little things. It's still hard to carry alone. So that's why I've told you. That's why I've told you my story. Now I can lay that burden down, put it to rest, and I can go on. Hi, Mom. Don't close your eyes.
So then you hear the upbeat music. Again, he goes to her mom's love. She waves to her mom. The camera angle is coming from below. Doesn't show her as a victim. She has overcome her circumstances. She was like towering over the viewer. You know, at Harvard, she basically has succeeded. But contrast that with the beginning of the movie, where she is struggling so much. And so I would say that this movie is effective because, so let's go back to what were you doing here? So when you write your paper, you know, you want to have an outline. And an outline is just basically just what you're going to talk about in general. So so the thesis could be something like the movie's narrative is effective because it creates true pathos, meaning sympathy for the character's hard circumstances, but then it is followed by a reversal of fortune. All this leading to a relief or catharsis. Catharsis, it's a term used in literature. In the study of tragedy, it's a term that Aristotle, the philosopher Aristotle, invented, or he's known for that term. Well, this is leading to a relief in the audience. What does this mean for? This means that the movie is persuasive. I think I misspelled here. Persuasive in making us how should I say this? It's persuasive in convincing real people of the need to support educational and counseling programs for homeless youth. So this would be like your main idea. So in the first part of your paper, you would say, part one, how the narrative builds up from, you know, scenes of victimhood and acceptance to victory, where Liz changes her life by realizing that hard work is key. And then part two would be, I'm going to have this on another page here. So part two of your paper, you would be talking about what social programs exist out there for homeless youth. For example, in Portland, and the good they do, and how we should not destroy or defund or keep funding these programs. So kids like Les do not go deeper into tragedy like their parents. So basically, that's the outline of the paper. That's how you start. That's how you start building a paper. From the notes, you start with a thesis. First of all, you start reading the task. What is the task? The task is to provide an answer. Is this movie effective in convincing you that we should keep programs for the homeless? And I think it is. And why is it effective? It is effective because it builds an effective story. How is that effective story built? Well, first, the author gives you Liz as a victim of circumstance, right? But then she turns her life around through her self-realization, through the help of good teachers, and probably also luck that she had good genes, right? And she had a natural curiosity. And her pain probably turned her inside herself, where she paid attention to what was happening in her world. But anyway, so when she's down and then she goes up and she succeeds, and this provides greatly relief for the audience as well, and that's why it's effective, because it moves us, the audience, and we experience this moment of catharsis, or psychological release. And on the way, you have these false moments of failure. For example, when Liz is about to get into that school, but her father doesn't want to do it because he's too ashamed to go inside and talk to the teachers. He's too ashamed of his life. So the director creates this moment. So the director gives you the impression that Liz is going up, 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 but then all of a sudden he kind of like almost drops the floor from under you, you know, by creating this danger, that moment that Liz might not go to school because people are pulling her back. And then you see her young friend who was being raped by her father. You see her friend saying like, no, don't go into Boston, you know, let's live on the streets. Also after her mother dies, she tells Liz in the cemetery, is like, you know, are you coming to live a homeless life, you know, and not go to school? And Liz realizes that, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to continue on that path. So director adds these false moments, but they're also effective because it creates anxiety in you, and you want Liz to succeed even more. So anyway, so that's, I don't want to go on and on because I could. I want you to do some work, but this is basically, and I also gave you the outline how you can shape up this essay, and then I'll give you more tips on how to, for example, include outside resources, how to build a paragraph. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, see you later.